All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Vivi Fluorite Eyes Song, episode 2.
All right, save the teddy bear, save the world. No.
That's right.
Save the idol, save the world.
Or get the idol to save the world. Very strong first episode. Love it. AI and all the craziness that comes with that.
Yep.
And Vivi is already making her own decisions.
She's making her own decisions, but the way she's being convinced is really cool because the teddy bear program, essentially, or the program that was then, went into the teddy bear, has a very, kind of helpful GLaDOS kind of, wacky energy.
Yep.
Did a really good job of being like, hey, this is the problem. This is the deal. We almost can't stop it. It's just a thing of, can we somehow...
Right. What can we do? And you can do
something
more than you
in the
would
midst
think.
of that. Yeah, because you've got 100 years.
Right.
Now, the idea of 100 years for an AI is not that big of a deal because, immortality, essentially.
Sure.
But also the idea of, well, based on certain things that you do, some things about the future have to be able to change. Otherwise, this isn't really... This mission doesn't make any sense.
Right, that data might not last.
Right, so therefore, what are the kinds of things you would have to do to shift the world to that 1%,
Right. Maybe the teddy bear will get, patch updates, every once in a while of, yes.
That doesn't make sense.
Like,
time-wise, that doesn't work.
The new future... that still has the problem, the person sends back the teddy bear again, and then he's like...
But they wouldn't do that then.
Right, yeah.
So that doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. You can't get patch updates for the future.
Certainly not in the way that this show's doing it.
Well, you would have to be able to communicate with the future from the past to tell them to do that. But once they did that, that becomes the new thing.
Well, right, unless it was something that didn't, Yeah, if it gets back,
that's the thing.
If it got back to the point where then the person sends the thing.
Yeah, exactly. But if they can change the future, then they can't interact with the future. You can only interact with the past.
Right,
then.
exactly.
And then once that's done, that future no longer exists.
Right.
Yeah.
So, even if somehow there were to be a patch update, it would be very unreliable. But that means that basically the information that Teddy Bear has right now can be very specific and everything.
Yes.
But that might not last going into the future.
Yeah, it will deviate more and more from the way things are going. The
Butterfly
longer
effect is a bitch.
This goes.
Yeah.
But we have very simple cast of characters right now, but we have also got a new one that's potentially coming into the fold in Aikawa, the politician who Vivi just saved. But now she's got some mercenaries to deal with who were sent to kill him.
Yeah.
So that's going to be its own mystery that we can pull on the strings of to see where it goes.
And how does this autonomous AI go into conflict with humans?
Quite easily, apparently. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Oh my gosh.
Shit.
We got ourselves a strong second episode.
Yeah.
Really exciting. Lots of action. Really good mile-a-minute pacing. And yet, Matsumoto is just spouting off all kinds of stuff to help us learn a little bit more about the severity of not just the mission, but the means by which they'll have to go about the mission.
Right. Yep.
And that was something that was carried throughout the entire episode. It's not about what the mission is or what your goal is. It's about how you go about it.
Yep.
Love
it.
Awesome. Anything gained through contemptible means is
contemptible. Yeah.
Well, I'm Suzaku quoting from Code Geass.
Right. That's right. Yeah. But and that's a great thing to have brought up because the big problem usually when you think about AI, going bad is because any means necessary, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that. Yeah, the bear, he's doing it's about what I won't do, right? I'm going to do nothing but my mission. Cool.
So there's only very specific things that I will not do in order to complete my mission.
Right.
And most of those are on the lines of not deviating so hard from the timeline that
the data's
the
unusable.
data is corrupted basically, and I can't use it.
Yep.
Which
Makes
means
sense.
that if 150 people die in a plane crash,
not only is that something that you won't stop, you will specifically make sure that Vivi is unable to stop it.
Yeah.
Which is, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Like,
oh boy.
This episode, I love it so much because it answered a lot of the questions from the previous episode, and the show so far with these 2 episodes has done a really good job of like having a conflict, resolving it, but then also showing the next conflict, so that way we're like really wanting to see what happens next.
Is she able to be anything more than a shield for the people that she is trying to protect?
Sure.
Can she basically fight back? She can, sort of, but not really. The teddy bear, Matsumoto, actually, though, he can do whatever he wants.
Right.
He is essentially an AI having the full power of the future.
Yep.
With also the limiters of what he can do to people turned off, because his mission is such that all other things basically are inconsequential,
right,
in terms of that. So, yeah, the part where his eyes went red and he sent the little drones and they pushed on the guy's head and then stuff there and they're like damn, damn, damn. And it's like, oh, that's cute in a silly but
right, because they're not really hurting the person, they're just stopping the person from being able to do anything.
But when he detonated a bunch of the bombs, he realized, like, oh shit, he can do actually anything.
Right,
he could be the one that actually sets about the rampancy of AI.
And thankfully, we know that specifically is probably not going to happen, because his one directive is to stop the rampancy of AI. So it makes sense that he would.
He is protected against himself.
Right, he's protected against himself, because if he wasn't, then this story would probably get very one note, because then of course he would use AI, because it's the logical thing, right?
Yeah.
But like in this situation, I wouldn't even be surprised if after he completes his mission, if he determines that it has been completed, he like self-destructs or something, because it's I am an AI that's in the past, and this is potentially dangerous. So
I think actually that might be something that's hidden within his programming, is that once he's completed his mission, he knows that this is something that's going to happen.
Right, but he's the final AI to get rid of.
Right. And I would love to have this be a show where the end is not necessarily Matsumoto needing to be defeated by Vivi or something, because that could happen.
Totally could.
But it's the Matsumoto and Vivi look at each other and go, you don't need me anymore, Vivi.
Right.
And he's like, wait, but we became friends after all this time. We've discovered humanity together. And it's like, yeah. And it's like the pods at the end of Dear Automata, It's like, oh, do we want to try this again? It's like, well, maybe, humanity doesn't need us anymore,
Yeah, because the final conflict that I'm seeing in my head, like as in general, not specifically, is that Vivi is not just here to save humanity, but also to save AI, right? Sure. To basically save AI from becoming the dark, twisted thing that they end up being, right? And Matsumoto is an example of that, right? He's the paragon of all the AI could be, in positive and negative, right? It's terrifying to behold, right?
It's godlike power.
Yep, godlike power.
So therefore, does Vivi end up giving AI rights, a new directive through some kind of like, this is like heading towards what I would call like the Mass Effect ending, which is basically, do you want subjugation, where all the AI now have the directive to make people happy, basically, or do they then become Vivi, like an extension of herself in a unique way? And then,
she takes over the tower, assumes direct control, and
thus then
the world is saved, because you have an AI overlord on your side. Yeah,
right. Or do we go, like you were saying, like the integration route, which is then we upgrade humanity to the point where there is no there is no separation. It's then that
equal terms, and
we're all sharing the same mission, the same blood, same
or we're equally sharing different missions. Where then it's back to it basically. If everyone's super, no one is right. Yeah, it reverts to humanity, right?
Yeah,
and I would not at all be surprised if the ultimate obstacle was, can Vivi convince Matsumoto, right?
Yeah.
Like in the same way that,
because it's based on the how.
Right. Yeah. So in the same way that he uses all these like logic puzzles and things like that, and in ways to convince her of like, hey, you got to help me out with this, right? That's a it goes along with your programming too.
Yeah.
Well, how does she convince this robot that will do, basically whatever it needs to.
Yeah, that's the cool part here, is that Matsumoto is not doing this independently of her, which is really cool because he actually has the capacity, to do this all himself.
Sure.
Like, the fact that he's doing it with her is part of his directive, means that he has to do things here so that there's an aspect of this that will go beyond him.
Right.
Mission-wise, he has the capacity, the power. He could just hack her, dominate the whole process, and make this all himself. But for some reason, he doesn't, meaning that he actually does need her, but it's not necessarily just to complete the mission. It's about, with regards to maybe his limiters of what he can do within the mission, but also what happens after the mission. And I think that's the thing about where we're right, in that Matsumoto cannot exist in the new future that's being built here because he's from the future.
Yep.
But also there might be something more to it. And I'm really excited about that aspect of that. This episode did exponentially good work on top of the first episode to build up what I would call, it's a form of foreshadowing, but it's basically there were themes, but there were more specific plot devices that were integrated or kind of seeded out into the story to be like, these things will have their own arcs. They will be brought back at some point, and they're not as foreshadowed as like it being like some kind of whether or not they're foreshadowed. It's like they're so obvious and they're going to be used.
The AI communications tower, right? That is a concrete thing that we can look at.
The combat skills that she didn't take because he was forcing it on her.
Right.
The kid Kakitani being saved by her. It's like, it's not like he's going to listen to your music,
Right. Well, and just the idea of like, okay, there's this anti-AI group. If we ever get to the point where Vivi actually needs to like do something that is more warlike, of like, I need to destroy the AI building or something.
Sure.
Theoretically, that would be the perfect group to use. Say, hey, I've gotten a message from the future. What you're afraid of will happen. And if you're willing to work with, one of us, one of them, right, then, hey, this is what we need to do, right? Because their interests are aligned. It's just that they have different
methods.
Well, sure, their methods, but then also their information of what will actually get what they want, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, exactly. They've set up multiple things like that where we can definitely tell that they will be used. But again, the question is how?
Yeah.
And that is all tied together perfectly with the theme of the episode being tied in again with the idea of, well, if an AI is autonomous, has a mission upon which that is helpful for humanity in general, it seems kind of weird that you would be like, well, we need human rights for AI when you basically already have an AI that has everything.
Human capability.
Yeah, is basically a human outside of their limited, cognitive functions.
Right. Well, like Vivi, like with the amount of variety that humans have, Vivi is basically just a bit of a weird human.
She's
That's basically it. Like there are people that are literal minded out there.
Vivi's limiters, if you will, are the kinds of things that show the beauty in humanity's complexity within just one individual or amongst the masses. But just to compare individual to individual, Vivi's not that off.
Nope.
And that's the kind of thing where it almost feels crazy that Vivi exists in this world at all.
Yeah.
Given that once armed with more information, this is what she's capable of.
Right. And I think that's the big reason of why Matsumoto isn't just, taking her over. Because like the visual of, him taking over like the construction robot, right? And like thrashing her and everything, that is a very cool visual. It's terrifying and, all that stuff, right? But that makes a lot more sense when you're dealing with squishy humans that you can't directly interface with, rather than robots where if he really wanted to just make it so that she didn't stop the plane from exploding, he could have just been like, and, I cast robot hold person, right? And
Yep.
you can't do shit, right? You are
Right.
going to stay there. You'll be aware of this.
Thus, he either won't do that or can't do that.
Right, exactly.
And we know that
both
because
are
she has-
very interesting.
Well, because we know she has no firewalls. There's a little world building thing
Yeah,
that I
that's
think
true.
this is one thing I'm really loving is the way this writing is simply getting across
Yep.
the perfect little elements of details of things we need to know what things can happen and won't happen, is that he could easily take her over. The part where she opened her archive in the first episode was the AI's inner world thoughts, essentially.
Right.
He entered in there and played around and made jokes and everything like that,
Yep.
basically saying, there is nothing inside you that I can't have access to.
Right.
But I'm not going to rob you of your free will. It is important that you autonomously choose this because I think maybe, and this is another weird theory, this runs contrary to previous theories, is that Matsumoto needs her to be the blueprint upon which AI will be formed for the future.
Right, and can live in harmony with humans. Yeah.
Right, so they're going to take potentially, this is another theory I have, is that they're going to take the experience of these 100 years,
Sure. Okay.
learn from it, and bring that as the blueprint base model for how an AI can have multiple objectives.
Or-
And that it's not
right.
just, you need to bring happiness to humanity through song, it's the, look at what this AI did in order to accomplish its objective in things that were very far in a way.
All kinds of
not
divergent
directly-
behavior. Like, because,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, Vivi still technically does have a single objective, right?
Yeah.
But because she's able to think and rationalize and
Autonomous.
reason,
Yep.
right? She's autonomous.
Yep.
She can get creative with how she goes about achieving that objective. And if you think about it, humans might be the same way, right? It's that, we want to, I don't
Eat,
know,
live, and
thrive,
thrive,
right?
yeah.
And then as a result of that, there's all those little things that are subset aspects of that. And then, sometimes those come into contention, and then suddenly, hey, you've got a diverse life, right?
Yeah.
Vivi could totally have that same exact thing, right? And it kind of fits in also into the hero's journey. Not that it has to be hero's journey, but for this story, but if she basically this is her, going into the abyss or whatever, doing all that stuff, and then the boon that she brings back is the experience itself that she had, the story, the this is how things can
Her
work.
song.
Right, her song, right? We can actually live in harmony, and this is how it would work.
Oh, shit.
Right.
Vivi's Fluorite Eyes song. The things that she perceived and experienced could be
Ooh,
through
I like
her
it.
eyes. They did start this episode with looking into her eye directly and saw
Yeah.
the little candle. If you will, allow me to sound what I would say is, this is a weird thing, but in searching for meaning in things that could have very hard authorial intent behind it, there's often points where you get at something that is correct, but it's not what the author was meaning by having this.
Sure.
But one of my favorite things about certain stories that have some kind of spiritual or some kind of philosophical meaning behind it is that eyes are incredibly powerful as a visual metaphor. But we didn't just see her eye, we saw a little candle flame flickering in her eye in the very beginning of the episode.
Okay.
I mean, I can show you.
Yeah. Bring that back up, because
I
I when the show decides to show Vivi's eyes, I'm generally
see right there.
candle
Yeah.
flame. Like, I'm generally just mesmerized by how gorgeous the shot is in itself. I totally missed the thing of the candle.
But it's her seeing what would have happened when when Aikawa died, basically.
Right.
Humanity is a soft little flickering flame.
Sure.
All
Okay, I
going
like
to be
it.
beheld in her eye.
Nice.
She's going to see everything that is
Yeah,
the
fragile
full
and
gamut
beautiful.
about humanity.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fragile and beautiful.
Okay.
And she's going to need to protect it, treasure it,
Yeah.
value it. And
Yeah.
yet, in order for her to do that, she's going to need to experience it, see it, and behold it in a very intimate way.
Which is funny, because there is kind of a classic example of the hero's journey where it's literally the going and getting the flame and bringing it back to, the
Yeah,
people.
that's the whole Prometheus
Yeah.
thing there. But I'm really, really excited about how we can have the AI learning humanity, but also the humans that then have their entire world and everything just turned upside down by this simple journey of a child, if you will, growing up.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm really excited about in the short term is Aikawa potentially completely abandoning his previous course, and the future is already deviated dramatically, not because of her saving him, but because she saved the boy and had that little talk about it's not about like what we do with our lives as, you know, as beings, but it's about how we live.
Like that whole scene with
that was so powerful.
Like, that was so awesome. Like it had it felt very Ghost in the Shell with like the ripping off of the tank from like of what's actually going on, you know?
Yeah.
But like as for what it meant, like oh man, it was so good.
I think she literally put a thought logic virus in both of them, and they will be very different people after this in the way that feels like the Chekhov's character development of like they've been implanted with this idea,
well, because like
and it will burn in their minds. And while I really love how Matsumoto, the teddy bear, is basically like,
what are you doing?
His career is over.
Oh, gotcha.
Like he basically was like, we can write off Aikawa now. He's no longer a problem. I really think he's right in that there's going to be some things about the way his current career is going that will be like thrown in the trash can.
Yeah, because he's going to be probably rethinking his entire life after this.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what if it's now even more so he thinks AI should have rights now? Because this AI...
Sure.
And because, and this is another thing I wanted to bring up. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going all
go
in
for
here. The fact that they had again another world building thing, and this was something that really confused me. But the way that Matsumoto messed with the glasses of Aikawa to make her seem like a basic security AI.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. Could make him think that this was not a special AI, but a very basic AI.
Right.
An every AI.
Yeah, that just happened to basically go above and beyond the call of duty of serve and protect, basically.
Right.
And, yeah.
But, at the end here, I think... I'm wanting to make sure he kept his glasses on the whole time.
Well, it did seem like he was actually perceiving her.
Well, he has his glasses on the whole time. That's why I was wanting to check to make sure to see.
So he might still have been seeing her as just a
just a basic security robot. But then we had this crashing bit here.
Oh yeah, and then the glasses
cracked.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they come off or no. Okay, no, but they are cracked. Yeah. So it might be that they're broken at that point, and he did seem like he was looking at her differently.
Yeah, exactly. The glasses are on the whole time, but oh wait, no. No, he does. He takes them off at the very end
as they're walking away. Yeah.
Basically saying, I think the point that they cracked, he could then perceive her as who she was.
Right.
Which means that there's a couple other things that are just left lingering there as questions of,
Yep. Well, and he might be, there's a very good chance he would have recognized her from earlier that day when she saved his life.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I'm so excited for this show because it seems like there's all these little things that are just strewn throughout, and because it's a time travel show, right?
Yeah.
But it's it's the time travel happened the one time, right? Then okay, who knows what'll happen, right? We have things that are all right. This is likely to happen,
Sure.
But at the same time, humans have free will, and oh hey, looks like some AI do too, So how's it gonna go?
So good. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.